continue the conversation with Abdul Osmanu, Hamden legislative counselor who is endorsed by the Democratic Socialist chapter here in Connecticut, and Marge Rodriguez, who's the Hartford co-chair of the Democratic Socialists of America. Okay, we only have a few minutes here, and again, you're not the voice of the whole movement, and I understand that. You're giving your own opinions and your own little twist of what's going on. For me, when it comes to the economy, I mean, are you going to socialize tech? Are you going to socialize oil? Are you going to socialize finance? And because this is where my biggest concern is that I think that all these ideas, and then you get to the pay-fors, and then eventually there's not enough money to do what you want to do, and that's where it crumbles. Like, if I were going to give you a predictive arc, that would be the problem, because the growth and the revenue will eventually not get to where you can support what you want. So what do you do with big business, big tech, big oil?
I think you strategically identify sectors in the succession in which you actually, try to nationalize it. Because I don't think any rational, person.
Do we still have a stock market?
That is a question that probably it would be,
because there are thousands of entrepreneurial companies, right? And so the system.
And,
go ahead.
And if I may respond to that, right, the problem is not, there could be millions of small businesses, but the problem is the 10,000 enterprises and corporations that are pouring billions of dollars into our politics, into running our government, and into manipulating this system. Not manipulating, but actually taking advantage of capitalism for what it is. Capitalism is a system that prioritizes profit over people. It is a system that prioritizes competition above all, and a competition can become very ugly, and it leaves people behind.
I mean, I think I would even go further to kind of mention the fact that, capitalism is a system that actually requires, an inherent imbalance and actually even exploitation in order to actually, survive. You can't have an Elon Musk without abject poverty that, I can see on the Farmington Canal Trail in my neighborhood in downtown New Haven by the Green.
Yeah, you can't have the richest that live in Greenwich and Darien and then have 1 in 4 Hartford residents living in poverty. That is a product of capitalism, where we have one of the wealthiest states in the country with some of the wealthiest residents, yet we have some of the most extremes of wealth inequality, of segregation in our communities and our schools along racial and class lines. Like, that is capitalism right before our very eyes.
Yeah, I mean, I think the tax system, if it were executed properly, would probably equalize that out a bit. It wouldn't change it, but should there be a trillionaire? That's a hard.
No trillionaires, no billionaires even.
So,
there is no ethical billionaire.
I don't know if I can't tell you that that's true or not true. But this one thing I'm hung up on. I'm a little uncomfortable bringing it up because is the Palestine issue. Because there's very little doubt, and I'm reading this piece in the New Yorker about how Israel and Netanyahu, how they've really just whatever they can to post October 7th to just scorch earth, and how they've ignored the United States and what the United States wants them to do at every turn. And this is not enough time to do this, but when you say free Palestine and give them a Palestinian state, does that mean no state of Israel? And also, what about other countries where there's also really bad things happening to their people? You could make an argument before the war, people of Iran. You could make an argument that people even in Cuba. And to me, this is an issue that I don't understand why this one particular place where there's genocide, alleged genocide going on in Africa, seemingly every year.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the key difference here is that so much of our so much U.S. money goes into actually funding a lot of this. If we gave a bunch of money to the genocide in Myanmar, I absolutely, would revile, would be protesting in the same way that I am, albeit like I still see those as crimes against humanity, and to be, dealt with by the international court system, which has called for the, arrest of Ben.
So if the U.S. didn't contribute to the security of Israel, then it would be back in that category?
Well, I mean, I think the key thing here is that it's not just the security, where, for example, the rifles that are actually made by settlers in the West Bank and have been, given to people in Israel, have been used to kill Palestinian people.
And they're produced right here in West Hartford at our Colt factory. And again, it's not just like the integration of the U.S. government, right, and our direct aid to Israel, but local police departments go and train with Israeli military forces on urban warfare. The surveillance technology that ICE is using to track not only immigrants, but to track protesters, to track people who are organizing their communities against ICE, is being developed by the IDF and is being tested on the bodies of dead Palestinians.
But do you think that Palestine should have a state at the expense of an Israeli state?
I believe in a secular single state.
I don't believe any state that is engaging in apartheid, that is engaging in occupation and genocide has the right to exist. Apartheid South Africa did not have the right to exist. The U.S. as an apartheid state before Jim Crow laws were established.
So if they pulled back from Gaza or the West Bank and kept their borders, that's still not enough.
The Palestinians should have a right to say what is happening in their homelands. This is their homelands, and they have been displaced from it since 1948. Even before then, they were facing extreme oppression under the UK military and supporting of the Zionist paramilitary groups up until 48, and then afterwards, we had the Nakba in 48, then we had the Six-Day War in 67, where Israel claimed even more territory of Palestine, occupied even more so. What we want is for Palestinians to have sovereignty and to have a determination of the lands that they have been living in.
And so, but you think the Israeli state has no claim over any of that land?
It does not have any claim over that because it is directly against international law. It is an occupation.
And I think that's why I would say like a single secular state where no, I don't think that there is any indication that people are going to be in exodus moved. That is something that even just, it's humanly you could not do that in a sound humanitarian way. So actually allowing for a actual singular, a single secular state would be,
meaning
I think
where the Jews and Palestinians
live together in peace and in harmony.
Where anybody who's living there.
Much as how, prior to the creation of the state of Israel, there was able to actually be, the existence of that.
Well, there was no state really. It was a stateless region.
Yeah, that was
I don't want to get into the
geopolitics.
I'm gonna allow your statements to stand for themselves.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. We don't have enough time on the clock for that particular conversation. Two quick questions here. I mean, we gotta go.
Yeah,
Can you give me 30 seconds each on what's next in terms of the movement and in this country? Should be quick.
For me, 30 seconds. First of all, it is ensuring that we are organizing our communities and building up people power. As Democratic Socialists, we believe in power beyond the ballot box. We believe in power in the hands of the working class and actually using that collective strength to not only push back against Trump's fascist agenda, but to get these establishment Democrats out of office, out of power, and ensure that the power of the government and the economy is in the hands of the people.
I think really demonstrating what socialism actually looks like, where one of the great excitements that I have for a Mamdani administration in New York City is to be able to actually show people living proof of what it looks like to have a socialist government, a democratic socialist government that's advocating for the rights and wants of folks.
Let's see what happens with the grocery stores. It could be. I
think they'd be cheaper.
It's been
cheaper,
done.
but I think there's going to be
not a novel concept.
But I think there's going to be 5 of them, and it's going to be it could be a little overwhelming.
If it means people can get food on their homes, then sure.
Okay.
Well,
I look forward to continuing the conversation. Would you say?
Oh, I said the market will adjust to it.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know if the place is going to get torn down with so many people trying to get into it, right? I mean, I don't know how it's going to and I think the lines will be huge, and we'll see. I mean, again, like, we'll see what happens. I mean, I think the one thing you can say is that Mamdani won, and again, like, you could say Trump won. I'm not a supporter. I'm just saying, like, he won, and so he gets to implement his agenda, and Mamdani gets to implement his agenda, and we'll see what happens. And the proof will be with what ends up happening. But I want to thank you both. It's not without a little bit of personal risk and the conversation, and I want to make sure that this is a safe space for conversations, even if I do disagree on a lot of stuff. I think it's important for you to voice yourselves without interruption, and I think we accomplished a lot today.
Oh,
so,
yeah,
thank you.
absolutely.
No, we're greatly appreciative of this.
Appreciative. Being born as a black Muslim Democratic Socialist, it is dangerous.
It's not an easy place to be.
Not an easy thing to do.
Abdul Osmanu, Hamden Legislative Counselor, and Mars Rodriguez, who's the Hartford co-chair for the Democratic Socialists of America. Thank you so much for your time. Now, tomorrow, I don't even know how to segue into tomorrow's show. You're going to laugh. We're doing a segment on gray divorce. Okay, do you even know what that is? When the kids grow up and then the parents get divorced. It's a big thing. And also Mike Anthony, one of my favorite sports writers in the state of Connecticut, to talk UConn. The 3 for the road that I have today, it still will probably hold up, and I guarantee you we'll get to it. And maybe I'll do 6 for the road if I get 3 more interesting stories. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day.